Story 1. In Fort Collins, there is a haunted house that has slight burn damage, and all the other sheds around suggest it used to be a goat farm. My friends and I would always go there to do silly teenage things and just hang out, trying to scare each other. We have done that for about a year now, but we never saw anything particular, except heard a few noises that could have been anything. My most recent trip there, about a month ago, something was different. I had a huge feeling of oppression that I just couldn't explain. My friends and I continued to do what we usually did when there was a deafening noise like glass breaking coming from inside the house. We got closer to the house to see if we could tell what room the sound was coming from, and of course the sound stopped. We were thinking about going, since the place felt more hostile than it ever did, when I got shoved viciously to the ground. I would have blamed one of my friends, but they wouldn't have been able to produce the force applied to me without tackling me. At that point, I was done with that place. I got up and started walking to the car with my friends when a strange growl came from the house. It lasted about 60 seconds before it stopped. We were too stunned to get in the car, so at least another 30 seconds went by when, out of nowhere, the same glass-shattering sound was coming from the house and all the different sheds around it. That was the final hint that we needed to leave and never come back. I found it overwhelming how strange it was that nothing happened at that house until that day. 3 days passed without anything bad happening until the night of the third day. At first, I thought it was just me, but I could have sworn I've been seeing stuff out of the corner of my eye. They were little shadows that would just disappear before my eyes could focus on them. Then a week later, I got up early to get ready for work. I walked into the bathroom to the shower when I saw faces in the mirror. They were mutilated and appeared to for about 5 seconds. After that, to this day, those faces will flash in front of me whenever I make contact with a mirror. Also, after the faces revealed themselves, I could hear the same glass breaking and growling noise that I heard from that horrible night. The worst thing that happened was getting a huge cut across my chest. I woke up with it, and it was completely fresh. Crazy things have been happening to me, and I want to know what the hell is happening. It just won't stop, and it shows no signs of stopping anytime soon. I will keep everyone up to date with what's going on. Story 2. I am a religious man, and I believe in demons and the like. I believe that they are jealous of our physical bodies and wish to harm us in any way they can, such as tempting us to sin and in some cases possessing our bodies. This particular night I learned that they are able to express themselves so that we are aware of their presence, as a way to frighten us and vent their hatred. This is a short experience to relay, but it's the most memorable one to me. It was terrifying, and I hope I never have another one like it again. As I mentioned before, I am a religious man, and I was on a mission trip for my church. One night, I woke up completely unable to move. My hair is raising just thinking about this. In the middle of my bedroom, there appeared to be a giant heat wave. It moved from side to side and obscured everything that was around it. No, I didn't see a horrible demon or some monster, but with the hate and pure horror that I felt, I might as well have seen the devil himself standing there in front of me. This lasted for too long. I couldn't move, and all I could do was watch this blurry wave move around the room. I was crying from fear and the fact that I was powerless to move. The horrible feelings that seemed to emanate from this being were too much. I prayed to our Father in heaven immensely that I would be free from this power. I don't know why I didn't think of that earlier. Almost immediately I regained my ability to move, and the presence was gone. Besides the residual fear from the experience, I felt no more evidence of the tormentor. I laid awake for most of the night, until I finally fell asleep at some point. I can't express enough the pure terror that I experienced that night. I am a firm believer that there are many things that we as a human race just do not understand. Story 3. Towards the end of summer in 2009, I started getting immensely disturbing dreams. My family just laughed it off and told me they were just really bad nightmares, but I knew it was something worse than that, because I'm conscious when they happen. I live in a small town in Missouri, and my family is very religious. I've never dabbled in the occult or Ouija boards. There's no reason for a demon to torment me. I'm just your average small-town American teenager. The episodes would always start out the same. A presence in my room would wake me up. I found myself unable to move or talk, but my eyes were open, and I could see everything. Something would be sitting on my chest. Something heavy. My jaw would feel like it was wired shut. I felt wave after wave of this awful panic. I wish I could describe it so you could understand even just a little bit of how incredibly terrifying it felt. Shivers would run up and down my spine. Fear kept my eyes open in my paralyzed state, but I wasn't alone. There was always a shrouded figure in my room, something watching me from the corner, something standing over me, or sometimes floating over me, laying over me so its face was even with my own, and suspended inches away. I knew it was some form of demon. The feeling I would get when it visited is indescribable. The encounters started out bad enough, but they would get worse and more frequent. They started out happening about once every 2 weeks, but then they began happening 2 or 3 nights a week. The worst encounter yet happened towards the end of August, just before the start of my sophomore year. I woke up unable to move. A heavy pressure on my chest made it hard for me to breathe. My eyes were open. I can feel that evil presence that always accompanies the demon. It was floating over me, its face inches from my own. I couldn't make out any features. It was just a black, pulsating mist, or like a form shrouded in a billowing black cloak. I couldn't move. I couldn't yell for my parents or my brother, so I did the only thing I could think of. I started to pray. I just said Jesus' name over and over, hoping it would help. It made it worse. The terror increased. It felt like something had grabbed my arms and pinned them above my head. It was not the first time it had touched me, but it was the first and only time the demon spoke to me so far. I was just praying and begging God to send it away or stop it when it put an end to my desperate prayers. The demon growled, "God can't help you now," and it sounded enraged. Its voice didn't sound like anything I've ever heard before. Nothing here on earth could ever sound like that. Its voice was a deep, throaty, rough whisper. It had the voice of a man and a woman at the same time. A high, cracked pitch of a woman in pain, and the deep voice of a man that's been smoking for 20 years. I've never heard anything like it. Gradually, it receded, and I can move again. I was scared out of my mind. I ran right into my parents' room and freaked out on them until they let me sleep with them for the rest of the night. I know I was haunted by a demon, and I still get visits from it from time to time, but it doesn't scare me as much now that I'm used to it. I know it was real, and it happened, and I hate how people write it off as being a sleep disorder, because it's not. It was real, not something in my head that my subconscious mind created while I was asleep. I'm not crazy. I know it all sounds hard to believe, but it was real. I swear to God. I just hope it never happens again. Hi, thanks everyone for listening to my very first scary story narration video. If you liked it and would like to hear more, don't forget to subscribe and hit the like button, and leave a comment with suggestions of what you'd like me to narrate next. Thanks, and don't forget, there's always someone or something watching you.